Alright, I've got my news cap on. It's it's hard not to be angry when you're talking about something that's rather difficult. Anyways, my name is Ace. Welcome to the third episode of MojoKidsTV Channel6News. I'm your host, the Newsman, broadcasting live from an intergalactic ulcer. Your weather forecast for the day is 2 colliding storms of misinformation that are leading to a catastrophic human rights violation. I left off in my last video talking about this problem, and promised that in my next video I would talk about solutions. I strongly advise you to watch my previous video so that you know what I am talking about, because it is simply too much to recap. Since I know many of you are not going to do that, I will suffice to say, my last video detailed the human trafficking of intersex people and the complexity of the problems that intersex people endure while they are being human trafficked. So in an endeavor to talk about the problems in order to talk about the solutions, what are the solutions? There are several solutions that I would like to talk to you about today. Before I do that, I want to point out that my first video contains solutions that apply here. Go watch it. In addition, the solutions that I am going to talk about here apply to the first video, which is to say, many of the solutions to solve intersex human trafficking also apply to the broader scope of human trafficking, not necessarily of intersex people. For instance, comprehensive consent-based sex education programs implemented nationwide. It is unacceptable that people find out that they are being molested and raped in sex education classes. That is provided they're lucky enough to go to a school that teaches one. Personal autonomy education. That is what I am truly talking about. And it needs to start as soon as children can walk and talk. Before you even think about conversations about body parts, what is a penis, what is a vagina? Before you even think about introducing these words, children need to know that there are places on their body that it is not okay for anyone to touch. Furthermore, that if someone does touch them in these areas, they need to go to a trusted adult immediately and tell them. This is leaving aside that oftentimes it is a trusted adult that is molesting or raping the child. However, implementing consent-based personal autonomy education will help to curb the rape epidemic that is sweeping America. This comprehensive personal autonomy consent-based sex education program also needs to include the myriad of intersex conditions that people are born with. I keep hearing the term intersexual. There is nothing sexual about being intersex. It is not an orientation. It is not a gender identity. Being intersex is a medical condition, one that needs to start being taught about. What does sex education class look like for children who are born intersex? What does sex education look like for people who are born with both a penis and a vagina? Because I can guarantee you they are not being adequately prepared for the world. The sex education system in its current form is failing everyone by not teaching consent and personal autonomy first and foremost. But the sex education system is especially failing intersex children. Children born intersex. We're not just failing intersex children by not teaching them about their bodies and how their body parts work. We're also failing intersex children by not teaching their classmates, their peers, that intersex is a legitimate medical condition. While the concept of transitioning is relatively new, people who have secondary sex characteristics that are opposite to their genitalia is nothing new. Newsflash, this is old news. Old news that was erased. History that was erased. History that is being erased in real time. How can this happen when 1 in 1,000 people are born intersex? I'd like to introduce a word today. The word erasist. E-R-A-C-I-S-T. It's like racists with erasers, but they are erasing a kind of people. I saw an article the other day entitled 100 Transgender People of History. I proceeded to read the article, only to note there was no such thing as transitioning 100 years ago. These people that they were talking about were not transgender, they were intersex. These eracists, with their erasers, are sweeping intersex people under the rug. And that rug is made of the rainbow flag. A quote from a song comes to mind, a song called The Air-Conditioned Nightmare. And the quote is, "I only see rainbows now that the bandages are gone." In other words, once intersex people have been edited, incorrectly edited, they're told they are transgender. In other words, intersex people and intersex issues are being looked at as transgender issues, for the simple fact that intersex medical conditions have been so erased. I only see rainbows now that the bandages are gone, but the reverse is also true. I only see bandages now that the rainbows are gone. Now that I realize I was intersex, and I was edited. No, there's no sunshine and rainbows here, just bandages. How am I supposed to smile when I talk about this? But I'm going to keep trying. So when I was a teenager, I was forced to take estrogen because I was not properly female. I was intersex. Before I knew what intersex was, the only word I had to describe myself was transgender, when the truth is I had been given a forced gender reassignment. As to what I consider myself now, whether or not I consider myself intersex or transgender, I'm going to sidestep the entire contentious disaster, that is, the argument as to where the line is. To sidestep the contentious debate, instead I'm going to choose Salmasian as my identification. Salmasians are people that believe they are supposed to have both a penis and a vagina. I consider myself to be a Salmasian man. What's very interesting about being Salmasian and learning more about it, a Salmasian man, for instance, can be intersex, can be transgender, or can be cisgender. A transgender Salmasian man would be a man who was assigned female at birth, who was transitioning to have both a penis and a vagina. An intersex Salmasian man, who was born with both a penis and a vagina, would be happy just how he is, thus requiring no transition surgery. A cisgender Salmasian man is a man who is assigned male at birth, however wants to transition to have a vagina as well as a penis. Then there are Salmasian women, who can be intersex, transgender, or cisgender, and Salmasian non-binary people, who can also be intersex, transgender, or cisgender. What I should really be saying is intersex or parasex. Parasex is the word for someone who is not intersex. Someone whose secondary sex characteristics have been deemed to match the shape of their genitalia. Parasex. There is another new word, class. I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson, everybody. Tune in next week for a very important public service announcement. Just kidding, I can't get my shit together to make consistent videos every week. Where I'm at is just where I'm at. Thanks for watching. See you next time, peace and love, kids.